as of right now, I have no idea what to call this video, this conversation. I had a note to myself from months ago that what is it here? It says November. Yeah, from November. Oh, not a few months ago. A year ago. I was just going through cleaning up my texts to myself. Sometimes I feel so alive I don't have enough bodies. Is this manic? Yeah, Sunday, November 21st, 2021. So I was thinking about that and I was just like, it's interesting. So, first of all, I think just that word manic is so loaded. I have not ever been like diagnosed by a doctor or a psychiatrist or whatever for anything. I mean, any like type of neurodivergence or learning disability or whatever. I definitely have had. I mean, I've had multiple counselors, just two different ones that have talked to me about anxiety and just being like, yeah, anxiety is a thing for you. That makes sense. That is a thing. But beyond that, I haven't really had a thing, whether it be depression or ADHD or this or that or whatever, just like there hasn't been a thing. So, and part of that is because I haven't sought that out because I don't feel like whatever behaviors I have or difficulties I have are presenting enough or causing me enough grief or problems or issues that I need that extra attention and to try to figure something out or be diagnosed or whatever. So I'm just using that word manic. I know it's very loaded, but that was my note. And it just gets me thinking, like, sometimes, I don't know, like I feel things a lot, generally, not everything, but there's certain things that I definitely feel a lot. Like I have big feelings, again, but it is selective. It is not about everything, period. It's just big feelings in general. And I've talked before about that, like would I rather have big feelings or be more leveled out or whatever, and I think I'd rather have my big feelings, and that adds to just like me being a more passionate person and whatever. But it's just, I don't know, that note just reminded me of just like times where I feel like, like there's a certain moderate happiness or neutral state that I think a lot of people maybe are, and I was like, I don't know what my neutral state is. I feel like it's really difficult, or maybe not neutral, like default. I feel like my default state is not neutral, or that I don't even have a default state. I feel like, I don't know, anxiety, is that an emotion? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the state that I am in most often, is that what I call my default state? I don't know. But I feel like I am usually in a state of stress to some degree, and that has an influence, obviously, on my behavior and how I operate in the world. And I think some people could be in a state of melancholy or a state of just general happiness and good whatever, and that's how they operate in the world the majority of the time, and then there's some swings because of this or that or whatever, right? And I think, I don't know, I don't know, like if I were to do better at doing things like meditating in the morning or whatever and just kind of bringing my anxiety and stress like down a few notches in the beginning of the day and do things the night before that help me with that too, what is that place that feels more leveled? Like, what do I call that? I don't know. Would I just be generally happier? Right? Because you can be happy and still be, I don't want to say it's unhealthy, but like not in a state that is calm, right? Which is what I think, how I would talk about manicness sometimes, being overly excited. It's just a very heightened state. And it's like you can be anxious and be excited and happy. You can be anxious and be really in a negative sphere and stressed and not happy. um, and I find that most of my anxiety is like negative, stress, whatever, not excited anxiety that I can pivot towards positivity. But going back to the thing, I was thinking that there are times where I feel so high, like on top of the world, like happy, and then there's in some ways that immediately routes back to mortality and being like, I want more of this. Like, I want more life. There's actually a lyric in Can't Stop by Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I can't think of it right now. But I think it's like, can I get more of that? It's similar to that anyway, about just like life. Like, can I have another? And sometimes I am so over the top happy, but then it brings me to that place of like, yeah, but I'm going to die at some point, and that sucks, and I don't want to have to deal with that. And like, that just makes me really anxious, right? Like, I can be really happy about life because I'm so in the present, and then a moment later, I crash the party by recognizing there's this thing that's going to happen that I haven't accepted yet, and it's death. And until I accept that and feel okay with that, I'll continue to have those moments where it just crashes in on me, and that sucks. Like, that's not fun, right? Where I can be really, really happy and really just like, again, it doesn't seem like it's balanced, or maybe I'm balanced by my extremes is how I used to like word that, I guess, and talk about myself, and I don't know if that's accurate, but like, because it doesn't feel balanced. But I just feel like, yeah, I don't know. It's annoying and it's frustrating that even in moments of happiness and like whatever, I don't know another word for happiness right now that describes this, but like in moments of positivity and happiness and like times where I just feel so good, and generally I'm in the present for that, like super in the present. But sometimes that can lead me to just thinking automatically, oh man, like I wish I had more of this, like I wish this never stopped, I wish like whatever. And then I can bring myself right down just with that thought alone, and just like, it's like as soon as I give awareness to my happiness, as soon as I give awareness to the fact that I'm feeling good, it can crash. Because then I'm not in the present enjoying it anymore. I am thinking about the fact that I'm enjoying it. And that's not being in the present, enjoying the moment. I am like aware that I am having a good time. I am aware that this is awesome. And that awareness immediately takes me out of what I am living and brings me to the place of like, you are enjoying this right now. Now. Like, that's the key thing of you are enjoying this right now. At some point, this activity is going to end, or the way you feel about it is going to change, or something will interrupt, or whatever. And it's not about a pessimistic view. It is about the reality that I am facing, that the activity or whatever I'm enjoying is going to come to an end. And that is not a happy feeling for me. Instead of just being able to just be like, yeah, that happens, and then this will happen. Hey, that'll happen again, and it's okay. And like whatever, it's hard for me. I don't know. Saying goodbye to people is really difficult for me. But like, there's just things that like that I almost can't trust that those things will happen again, because in reality, you don't know. And I'm very aware of that reality of like, I could say goodbye to someone and say like, yeah, I'll see you next week, and then one of us could step out into traffic and get hit by a car, and that's it. So like, you never know. And I'm too aware of that fact. And it's just like, I have some like books, like 2 books that I picked up maybe last year sometime about death and mortality. And I feel like I really need to read those. Because like, I don't know how to like, again, there's so many things in theory that I know about death and life and mortality. And I know that it is a huge, I hate to say the word trigger, but it is a trigger for my anxiety, or it is maybe the root of my anxiety, is death and like mortality and understanding. And I, again, in theory, I'm very aware that like, this is why I should really enjoy the present more, blah, blah, blah. And I talked about it like a couple weeks ago about how like, about setting yourself up for the future, like living in the present. Part of that kind of has to be like setting yourself up for later. Otherwise, like indulging in the present too much sets you up for failure, because you're not preparing for what's going to be happening tomorrow or the next day or whatever. So, but yeah, it's like that. Again, if I am aware of what I am doing, I don't know. It's like if I'm in the present, I don't want to be aware of what's happening. If I'm in a negative space, I want to be aware. Oh, man, it's so interesting how my brain is just dumb, just a stupid brain. If I am in the present, in order to really enjoy the present and to get all that I can out of it and really just feel it, I should not be aware of it. If I'm in the present, I don't want to be aware of what's happening. I just want to be completely in the moment. If I am in a negative space, I think, man, this is where it gets tricky. If I'm in a negative space, part of me really wants to be aware. I guess I'm aware all the time, and that's the problem. Part of me wants to, I just realized something. There's a part of me that thinks that being aware of the negative would be a good thing, to be like, hey, it's not going to be this way forever, right? But that's the second step. The first step needs to be, hey, this is where you're at right now. Don't go over here. Don't go to awareness. Don't do that, because then you're not dealing with the present. You're not dealing with this present negativity at all. You're skipping over to awareness. And that should be the same thing for like happy present times, is like, no, enjoy this. Just be in this place. Don't even think about how good it is. Just be in the good without thinking about the good. Because as soon as I'm like, if I'm just enjoying the time and I'm like on a walk or something, like with my partner and like the dog or just the dog or just myself, I'm like, oh, this is really nice. Even if I do that, sometimes it goes to like, this is really nice. And they can go either way. And most times it goes this way of like, this is really nice. Too bad it's going to end and I got to deal with reality in a couple minutes. And like, why isn't this reality? Why isn't the present just reality? It feels like the present is an escape from reality because the most of my time is not enjoyment in reality. It is always over here in the awareness of what is going to happen next. What is happening next. There's all this stuff I got to deal with. And most of it is like, that's how I view it. Things I have to deal with. Not, oh man, I'm really looking forward to this and this and this and this. That's going to be awesome in this positive realm. It's like over here in this like negative, this is what I'm going to have to do later and it sucks. So obviously, if I am going to be aware, I want to be aware of like all the positive things too and have a balance. But I also just be in the present, because very rare it's like, oh, this is a really nice time, and go to like, this is a really nice time and it can continue to happen. I'm going to have more times like this, and that's awesome, and I love life. It's more of like, man, I love life so much. It's crazy. It's the best. I love art. Making art is amazing. Being an artist is cool as heck. This is the best ever. And in that moment, there's an awareness, and it usually goes over here to negativity land about how that's going to end. Oh, but yeah, I guess that's the thing. I skip this being in the present thing a lot, whether it be positive or negative. Because if it's negative, I skip over to this like awareness of it and how this sucks and it's bad and it's never going to end. Rather than, if I'm going to be aware, I should at least be aware that it's just part of the ebb and flow, and it's going to change. If I can do that, that is really close to just being in the present with it, is being aware of like, hey, you're feeling these feelings right now, and that's okay. And it's fine. And you'll probably feel them again sometime, but you're not stuck here. Whereas awareness into how it's horrible, again, that's where I get stuck. I get hooked in right there of like, I'm aware of what I'm feeling, but it's not necessarily a good thing because I can get stuck in that. Rather than like, I'm aware of what I'm feeling, and I need to do more diffusion with that. Of like, I'm aware of what I'm feeling, this too shall pass, whatever. And think about the ebb and flow, and that those times will happen again, and it's okay. Like right now what's happening is okay, and I can just move on. It's not devastating, nothing's really, I'm safe right now, whatever. But it's really interesting that awareness piece, I am so aware so often that when I have those moments, which sometimes I mention like art, right? Like sometimes, and that's a mountain biking thing for me too, but any time that I'm so in the present that I can't think about anything else is one of the best times for me, because I feel that so rarely. And so one thing that I'm trying to do is create more opportunities to be so in the present that I can't be anywhere else. And some of that is with cannabis use. And I don't want to obviously rely on just that. I know there's other things that I can do. But in that, it can also help me retrain my brain and my thought processes and synapses and whatever, right? So that I am like when I'm in those moments and recognizing that those are good things, and be like, yeah, this can happen again some other time, and I can get to this place by myself with just like whatever, right? Like with I'm gonna draw, I'm gonna read, I'm gonna be really present, I'm gonna like working on being present is so ridiculous. Like I don't know, this thing has gone all over the place because like part of me is just like really not liking my brain because I think some people are just really in the present. They're just really in the present. Obviously, like me being really aware and observant and whatever, and some of that anxiety stuff helps me to organize my life in a way that could be more successful. Sometimes in certain elements, right? Because I'm aware, oh, we're going on a road trip, and I've thought about a lot of different things that could happen, and I've been prepared for those things in a good way, not overdoing it. But other times, it's like, okay, but I'm also not enjoying this moment because I'm too aware of the possibilities and what could happen, and I'm not just in it. And that's where the ignorance is bliss thing comes back in, and we like circle into that because like if I was ignorant to all the possibilities, I could be more in the moment and I would be happier. Ultimately, I have chosen, even as just a choice that, which I don't think is much of a choice that I can make, but like that I would rather be knowledgeable and be miserable, and like I don't think it has to be one either or, right? Like I need to train myself somehow to be more present and to just be like, hey, yeah, you're here, and yeah, at some point that's going to be over, and that's okay. But that anything good being over is the problem for me, and I like try to hold on to it so tight that it ruins it. It is completely overthinking it, completely just again thinking it, not just being in it, not just feeling it, not just living it. I am overthinking even my joy, and that completely squashes it. So. Man, yeah, I don't know. That's something I need to work on. That is something I need help with. I need to like pursue that, being in the present. How do I pursue that? Because it's just like some people I think more naturally, and obviously this is something that I can nurture into myself too, but like more naturally are just in the present, and they're not like it's so funny because we like I don't know, whatever. I just like of what. Culturally, sometimes we deem as a positive or a negative or what, oh, that person's an airhead or whatever, and it's just like, but being so present that you're not thinking about the next step and the next step and the next step. Again, there's a balance. There's just a balance, and I am so imbalanced in that, and I'm trying to be more present, but it's like there's specific activities that I can be present in that force me into presence. Or not force me, but they're really difficult for me to not be. Mountain biking is one of those things, again, I have to concentrate on what I am doing. If I am thinking too much, I will hurt myself. Because I'm not focused on the trail. I'm not using trail vision to look up ahead. And there's times where I've like gone right off the track in a place I've never gone off track before because I was thinking too much and I wasn't paying attention. And that can be really dangerous. So... And sometimes with painting, it's like amazing and I'm just in the zone, right? Anyway, this has been incredibly enlightening, and I think that part of it is because I didn't have as much of an agenda. I don't know what I'm going to call this thing yet because it went off the rails, of course, so much though, but it was incredibly helpful. Because yeah, I need assistance to stay in the present all the time. Like I need to try to do that all the time. And it doesn't mean not having an awareness of what's going to happen in an hour or two from now or the next day, but just being like, hey, this thing that I'm doing is what I'm doing. And like, not that this thing that I'm doing is preventing me from doing something else. And that's the other thing. Like, oh man, I don't know. I think I need to wrap it up there. But yeah, that it's not about like just finish. So much of me is task oriented. And I've, been told that by a counselor too, of like, it's task oriented and not process or like what I'm doing right now is what I'm doing, but I'm also thinking about I need to go do this other thing in 10 minutes. I work way better with big chunks of time for that reason. Because I don't feel pressure of like, or the awareness is like, yeah, I need to do something in 7 hours from now. I've got so much time that I don't have to worry about that for 6 hours. And once I get to that last hour and I need to start thinking about how I'm going to wrap things up and move on, in a way that will help me be on time or do that task, whatever. But like right now, I've got 6 hours to play with. I work so much better in those moments because I can just be present. Whereas if I have little chunks that are an hour or whatever, like, and that's it, it's really difficult for me. Anyway, I don't know how long I can keep exploring this for, but I want to sit with this for a bit. I don't know, but then again, I'm just like, no, as soon as I turn the camera on, I got to move on and do this thing and do this thing and do this thing. Like, it's really hard for me to not check what time it is right now. Like, yeah, I need to go. I need to go. I need to go.